But just when I was starting to figure out the game, the Supreme Court rewrote the rules for spending in elections.
A Supreme Court ruling that may change politics in this country more dramatically than anything else this court has done in generations.
This decision, Citizens United, is a case that will live in infamy.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
What's going to happen to elections?
Corporations will be allowed to give money. Corporations will be allowed to broadcast programs that are in favor of one side or another. It'll basically be no more rules.
In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court threw out a century of campaign finance laws in favor of some small home video company. So, who is Citizens United? And how did they pull this off?
Citizens United, the group, has been around since 1988. Its membership really is propagandists who've worked sort of on the furthest fringes of the Republican right. The group has sort of specialized in slash and burn propaganda hit jobs.
Floyd Brown, one of the creators of the group, he worked with Lee Atwater and other Bush campaign people to really pioneer the strategy of using an outside group to run a very vicious attack campaign. And they made what's known as the Willie Horton ad.
Willie Horton was a black man, so the ad was used particularly in the South to stir up white voters against Dukakis.
Dukakis not only opposes the death penalty, he allowed first-degree murderers to have weekend passes from prison. One was Willie Horton, who murdered a boy in a robbery, stabbing him 19 times.
It is a perfect example of how money can be used to fund an ad that totally distorts the race and totally distorts the debate.
David Bossie, president of Citizens United, filed an FEC complaint claiming that commercials for Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11 should be considered ads for John Kerry's presidential campaign, since the movie ads showed John Kerry's opponent, President George Bush. When the Federal Election Commission denied that the movie ads could be considered political spots, that gave David Bossie an idea. In 2008, he ran ads for his movie about Hillary Clinton while she was campaigning for president.
Calling it a movie, I mean, it was really just a series of scabrous innuendos.
Ruthless, vindictive,
venal, sneaky, liar is a good one.
It was a fairly narrow question. Could this self-proclaimed media company have its product ruled not to be a campaign contribution, but just simply a piece of journalism?
But something perverse happened. It went way beyond Citizens United. Chief Justice John Roberts took a bizarre interest in this case. And after the initial arguments said, you know what, we want you to argue this case differently. Instead of talking about this one film and this specific incident, we want you to talk about regulation of corporate money and union money and private expenditures in our politics. We want you to develop briefs based on that. We're going to argue a wholly different case. So the case was widened out from one incident with one little group and one film to a discussion of whether we should have regulations at all on corporate money and other private spending to influence our elections.
They said money in political campaigns, and they've said this forever, is the equivalent of speech. When I give you money to run for election, it's the same as me speaking. So we're under First Amendment analysis. We have to be very careful whenever we limit money.
I don't think our founding fathers and mothers were thinking about corporate treasuries as part of the free speech code.
What speech are we really quieting when every individual member of a corporation can speak for themselves?
You can put as much money as you want into a race, and so can Walmart. So it's your free speech / money against their free speech / money. Who do you think has more free speech / money, you or Walmart?
Where does this leave children? Children have no financial leverage. So if only those with financial leverage get the power of speech and thus the power of influence, then of course the rights of our children are dropped to the floor first.
An election is a debate. And if the debate is distorted by having one side have so much greater resources than the other, that sometimes may distort the ability to decide the debate on the merits. You want to be sure that it's a fair fight.
When money equals speech, speech ceases to be free. And what you've got is a very few who have a monopoly on the discussion.
As much as Citizens United saw their freedom of speech threatened by election laws, they apparently had no problem using the law to threaten other people's speech.
After the Supreme Court ruling in Citizens United, we formed a group called Citizens United Against Citizens United. The group Citizens United, for whom the case is named, didn't take kindly to our protest of the ruling. And shortly thereafter, we got a letter from a very high-powered law firm out of Washington, D.C., threatening us with trademark infringement, threatening to sue us.
Could this really be true? Can a corporation monopolize a word we all use? Well, they can try.